Okay, we are at the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. A little bit over, sorry about that. Thank you all for joining. Welcome to Platform Analytics Academy. If you are new, welcome. If you're a returner, we always appreciate the fact that you keep coming back. That lets us know we're doing great stuff for you. So we have some really good stuff again today with an incredible speaker. So real quickly, I'm just going to go over some logistical information and then we'll get directly into our content. So as usual, this is always for you, fresh ideas, better understanding, and practical guidance. And that is true for today as well. This is being recorded. The session will be out in the community later on this week or early next week. And then also that gives you the ability to sit back, relax, and enjoy it. And of course, it'll be out on YouTube as well. So please ask questions. Please, if you can, put those into the Q&A rather than the chat. Chats are awesome for hellos and those things, but with the Q&A, it gives us the ability to track those questions. And also, we have other panelists that are on the call that can answer questions. If we do have a question that comes in that is related to the content that we're covering, we may stop the speaker and ask that question. Any questions that come in that are unrelated to the content, they could possibly get answered via type, or if we have extra time at the end for a Q&A session, we'll try to get those answered there. So safe harbor, I don't know whether or not this is relevant today. Dan Grady will let us know here shortly, but it's always good for us to put this in here just in case there are any forward facing statements or anything of that nature. So please keep that in mind as you're listening to the content today. So as usual, I am Thomas, and today we do have Dan Grady, who is going to be our presenter, and then Dan Kane and Marta Penza are here as well as great panelists that we always have. So with that, you're sick of hearing from me. Now we get to hear from Dan. So Dan, if you're ready, you can take over.
I am ready, and I'm going to take over. One of the things that I noticed, Thomas, as you were starting, I believe now that the Platform Analytics Academy has a much bigger budget than the Process Mining Academy with all the fancy music and animations you have. Um, but thanks for having me here today. I always like to compare these sessions when we have the process mining team come on to the platform analytics or vice versa as kind of like those old Scooby-Doo episodes where like Batman or the Globetrotters would be on, nice little crossover. So I know there's some familiar faces out there. Looking at the list of names, it's good to see you here. And it's very nice to meet those folks who I've not met before. So what we're going to do here today is got a quick little like process intelligence 101 for those folks that may not be familiar with process mining is and task mining are. So introduce you to the solutions. There's a lot of connection between the platform analytics capabilities and the process and task mining capabilities. So I'm going to run you through how those things work together. We'll get into some live demonstrations. And then, of course, we couldn't have a ServiceNow presentation without talking about AI. So we want to just quickly introduce you to where process intelligence aligns to your AI initiatives that you have here going on inside of your organizations. And then we'll share some information. One of the beautiful things about process mining is that you can actually get started in your own instance today. So we'll share how you can do that if you get excited about what you hear. We'll get your questions answered. As Thomas mentioned, please put your questions in the Q&A. We might not get to them during the content, but we will most definitely get to them at the end. And we'll give you a number of different chances to ask this question, but like get them in as you think of them so you don't forget them. And then lastly, there's no shortage of resources above and beyond here today. So we'll share some of those additional resources if you're interested in learning more. That's the plan. Let's get going. All right, so we always start these sessions with a quote, and I picked this one for today's session because it aligns perfectly with the major themes that we want you to walk away from this session with. Certainly, we want good results, but management by results is not the way to get good results. We need to work on the causes of the results. And why I like this quote is it speaks to the differentiation between information and insights, the what and the whys, but it also speaks to the need to not just report the news with our data, but to create and influence it. Now, the first theme aligns to, or the first theme, it aligns to the importance of extending the reach of data beyond the corner office and embedding information and insights in the flow of people's day-to-day lives throughout the organization. Like, there's so much focus historically that has been placed on executive and management level dashboards, like the need to report the results, if you will. But the reality is the numbers on those executive and management level dashboards, they don't move just because we have executive and management level dashboards. They only start to move when we start to influence and change the behaviors of everyone else everyone else that's involved in delivering on those numbers. And that's the beautiful thing about the embedded intelligence and analytics solutions on the ServiceNow platform. We are able to more directly use data to improve the speed and quality of people's experiences, like the decisions that they make, and accelerate the pace in which things get done inside of an organization. And we're able to do that because we are the platform that people are doing the work in. The reality is, the closer you get to the front lines in an organization, the less likely you're going to get people to go someplace else to look at numbers and analytics, right? They're not going to do it. It just doesn't happen. It's why for the last 30 years, the adoption numbers around business intelligence tools have hovered around the 27 to 31%. People on the front lines just don't go away from the system they work on. So if we want to start influencing people's behaviors with the data that we have inside of organizations, we need to put the insights in the flow of their day-to-day lives. And there's so many different components of the intelligence layer on the ServiceNow platform. And as customers, you get the benefit of the prepackaged out-of-the-box solutions that we create and that we bake into the different workflow solutions on the platform. But what's great is you also get access to the foundational solutions themselves to create unique experiences that align to your specific needs from an organizational perspective. Today, we'll focus on how to combine two of those solutions to provide a more complete experience for your stakeholders and provide them with both information and insights to help them move from just reporting the news to creating and influencing it. And those two obviously will be platform analytics and process and task mining. Now, I assume if you're here, you're familiar with platform analytics, but maybe not so much process and task mining. So I wanted to do a quick little process and task mining 101, and then we'll talk about how these two capabilities come together. So most of you probably are familiar with our traditional analytics, and those dashboards that you have today are very good at helping us ask and answer very important questions like how many tickets, incidents, cases, changes, problems, requests did we work? Which types were they? How long did it take to close those things? And probably most importantly, how are we performing against our targets and are we improving our cycle times? All super important questions that we hope you're using dashboards just like this to ask and answer. But here's the deal. I've been doing this a little while. I know Dan Kane and Thomas and the rest of the team on the call here have been doing this a little while. And one of the things that I've learned in my time in the analytics space is this: information tends to be one of the most addictive and contagious things out there. You give somebody a little bit and they always want more. So the first thing that happens when we get a dashboard like this out the door, before I can even high five you that we got it out the door, is that somebody in leadership starts asking questions like, well, why are we missing our ESAT and CSAT targets? Why are our closure times trending? Those are like, why? And the answer to those follow-up why questions typically don't live in dashboards like this. They live in process mining. Process mining allows us to take that to the next level and start asking and answering all the follow-up why questions about what people are seeing in those higher level dashboards. Questions like, where is the process standing stuck? Where is there unnecessary rework? Where are we spending or wasting the most time? Which vendors are speeding us up and which ones are slowing us down? And my all-time personal favorite, I've been here now at ServiceNow for almost 10 years working with customers in the reporting and analytics space. And I think every customer that I've ever worked with has asked me for the same report, so much so that I've given it a name. I like to call it the finger pointing report. Everybody wants to know who's holding on to the work the longest. I need to know who's holding on to the work the longest. If you're more glass half full, we call that the opportunity to improve report. These are all the types of questions that process mining allows us to start asking and answering, essentially getting us to the why behind many of our KPIs. And we can apply this process mining capability to a single table process like this incident example here, where we're looking at how the incidents are moving from state to state in the process and the volume and velocity between those transitions. Or my personal favorite, the finger pointing report. So instead of looking at how the work is moving from state to state in the process, let's look at how the work is moving from group to group in the process. Most organizations have routing issues and inefficiencies that they deal with. This just hasn't been easy to see these before. This, in a matter of minutes, allows us to start seeing where we're routing things ineffectively and how we potentially could, reroute things or get things to the right place the first time. For those more robust processes, like let's say hire to retire or onboarding, where you have a high-level onboarding case, a whole bunch of activity sets, and a bunch of subtasks and requests, process mining allows us to create one of these multi-dimensional maps to give end-to-end visibility into that entire process. These multidimensional views are fantastic when you want to start digging into your service catalog requests. If you think about the two primary bottlenecks in every service catalog request, you have the approval step of the process and then the fulfillment tasks themselves. Those two things live in two different places inside of the platform. So if you really, while a report might be able to show you the overall fulfillment time of a request, if you really want to understand where you're leaking air from your tires, you're going to want to start looking at the data this way. And then, like, heaven forbid you're running a process outside of the ServiceNow platform, we do offer up that ability to ingest external process data and apply process mining on top of that. Very good if you're looking to reimagine a process on the ServiceNow platform, or maybe look to decommission some applications or do some app rationalization. This happens to be an example of us ingesting Smart Recruiters data and applying process mining on top of that. And then lastly, in the Zurich release, we introduced our first iteration of our task mining solution. So while process mining is great at giving us visibility into opportunities to streamline processes based on activity data that is generated by, let's say, an enterprise application, there's going to be those situations where frontline employees are performing tasks on their workstations as part of the process. Like, how do we get visibility into that next level of detail? Well, this is where process mining fits. Oh, sorry, task mining fits. Task mining gives us visibility into workstation level data, like the tasks that are being performed in applications outside of the platform. Tasks like sending emails to a supplier or looking something up in a spreadsheet, searching a supplier or vendor portal, and then taking that information and updating it in an ERP of some sort. These are all activities that probably could be automated and as part of a workflow, or maybe streamlined into a single experience using a playbook orchestrated by an AI agent, right? Task mining is going to help us understand who is doing what in what applications, in what order, and how long it's taking people to do those things. The task mining workspace is the new capability that helps us answer that whole new set and depth of questions. Which applications are people spending those time in, and how often are they using those applications? Which applications might we be able to decommission? Which teams or agents are using these applications most efficiently? Are there training opportunities or standardization opportunities? So there's a lot of task mining kind of takes us to that whole another level, something we introduced in Zurich to kind of round out this visibility that we need. And just if you're interested in that one, quick little plug, we did do a Process Mining Academy session, minus the fancy intro music that Thomas has here, to do a deep dive into that capability, live demos, and how it works. Just wanted to kind of point that out if that's something that you're interested in. All right, so that was the quick little, like, what is this process and task mining stuff that we're talking about? But, like, how do we tell that more complete story, right? We've got the what with the platform analytics and reporting, and now we got the why with process mining and task mining. Like, how do we start blending these two things together to tell that more complete story? Well, there's a number of different ways, and the capabilities that we've added in this realm to bring these two things together have kind of grown over time. The first thing that you need to know about is there's this concept of platform analytics templates for process mining. This was something we introduced in Rome. And right from a platform analytics KPI, when you drill down into it, into the KPI details page or screen, you'll notice that there's a nice little run process analysis button. So let's say you have a backlog KPI, you see it's trending in the wrong direction. When you drill down into the details page for that, in that upper right-hand corner, you'd have a run process analysis. If you have the rights to do so, you can click that, and it's immediately going to mine the data behind that KPI to get us that next level in it. So like a single click option to kind of get you to some more insights about a KPI. Then you also have the ability to launch process mining from a list. Very handy for those of you that have already built some reports, let's say incidents or cases that are breaching SLA, and you got a little score widget there that tells you that you want to learn more about those incidents that are breaching SLA and why they might be. You click on it, it gets you to a list. Again, if you have the rights to do so, you right click on that list, you say launch process mining, and it will immediately take the filter conditions that you have around that list, pass them over to a process mining project to jumpstart your ability to start mining that data. I'm going to be showing all of these in a live demonstration piece a little bit later on, but I like to set them up in slides first, so you'll see it live. Then when we get to the Vancouver release, we introduced a process map widget that you could blend into the dashboards that you're creating for your different process stakeholders. So you might have a dashboard now that has some operational real-time reports, number of open incidents right now at this moment. You might have a KPI from Platform Analytics trending your resolution times. And then right on that same page, you could give that process stakeholder visibility into how work is moving through the different steps of the process and start to show them where there might be some bottlenecks and some inefficiencies. Again, the idea is to tell that more complete story with our data that we have on the platform. In the Washington, D.C. release, we introduced a very unique view on those visualized process maps. I call it the incoming and outgoing work analysis visualization. The name that you'll find inside of the documentation, I think, is the star diagram. But what this allows us to do is put a process activity at the center of a visualization and show all the incoming and outgoing transitions into that activity. The most popular way in which people use this is to take an assignment group and put it at the center of the universe and start to answer the question about who's shipping work to my team and where am I sending work to. It's a very unique way to look at kind of if you lead a group or a team, you want to understand which groups are transferring work to you most often and why. This is where are you sending work out to. This is a great way to start visualizing that data. If you have any team leader type dashboards in your organization, this might be something that we consider adding to it. And I'll show you how to add this to a dashboard later on as well. Adding these things, again, we'll do this live, but I do have this slide in here for those of you, for the deck, when people kind of go to the recording, they want this access to the slides. It's a very simple process. You create a process mining project. We'll do it today. You run it, you mine it. Then there's a new visualization called the process, not new anymore, but there's a visualization type called the process mining map. You then point that at the project you created, and the map magically shows up on the screen. Very straightforward to do it. Now, the next set of capabilities that I want to talk about all revolve around a concept in process mining called improvement opportunities. But before I talk about the linkage between platform analytics and process mining in this area, I thought it would be good to just introduce those that are new to process mining to what an improvement opportunity is. With every set of data that we mine, we give you the ability to create both rule-based and automated improvement opportunities. And what are these? Well, the rule-based improvement opportunities give us the ability to set conditions to test out hypotheses we have around inefficiencies in our processes. So go show me or find me all the incidents that take longer than 2 days to go from a new to a signed state and less than 2 hours to go from an in progress to a resolved state. Or go find me all the HR cases that get transferred from one team to another, but take longer than 8 days for that transfer to take place. So you have the ability to set up these very specific rules for those situations where you want to see how big a problem the inefficiencies are. And then in addition to those rule-based ones, we give you a library of what I like to call automated inefficiency detectors that are just looking for inefficient patterns in the data, rework, ping pong, extra steps. And these are great for those situations where you don't know what you don't know about your processes. You set up a couple of these detectors and they start to surface things like rework on the in progress state, where maybe we have 2,000 incidents that went into the state of in progress, left, and ultimately came back. Typically, quality issues and training opportunities live in that subset of the data. Or there's a ping pong detector that's looking for things going A, B, A, B over and over again. Very handy for assignment group analysis. Or the slow transition detector. Let's say 85% of our work takes less than 2 hours to go from a new to in progress state, but there's 2% that takes longer than 8 days to make that journey, right? It'll flag those for us. These improvement opportunities are great at helping us jumpstart the analysis that we're trying to do. And what happens with these, though, is we have the ability to start embedding them in dashboards. So there's an insights panel in the platform analytics dashboards on the right-hand side of the screen. What you have the ability to do is when you create these improvement opportunities in process mining is wire them up to KPIs that you've created in your organization. And then if you choose to do so, you can start to surface these process mining improvement opportunities on the same screen as those KPIs or the same dashboards that include those KPIs. It's a great way to start blending together the what has happened and the why that might be causing those things to happen in the wrong direction or that's causing those things to happen. So that's something that was available to, and you can start doing if you're at the Washington, D.C. release. I have to imagine most of us on the call are there at this point. And then, oh, I did that. This should not say Washington, D.C. This should actually say Zurich. What we added in the Zurich release is this ability now to drill down into an opportunities details page. So right from that improvement opportunities panel, when you drill down now in Zurich, instead of taking you to what was the process mining workspace, it'll take you to an opportunities details page, which will summarize all the aspects of that details. And there's actually now a skill blended into it that takes all the underlying metrics around an improvement opportunity and writes nice little detailed descriptions about things that you might want to dig into more. The idea is we're trying to extend the reach of these powerful insights that process mining offers, get it into the flow of the day-to-day lives of your process stakeholders, and make it easier and easier for them to consume the potential opportunities they have to improve their processes. That's the slide. I just had two of the same slides in there. And then I talked a little bit about those improvement opportunity AI-powered highlights that are on there already. Now, the idea of all of this is bringing this together is to tell that more complete story. And we believe now with the operational reporting, platform analytics, and process mining, we've given you everything you need to tell that very complete story for your process stakeholders. So if you think about it, the operational reporting on the platform, and this slide is an oldie but a goodie. Some of the longtime ServiceNow veterans out there have probably seen this slide 100 times at this point. But for those that are new, I've found this is a very nice way to communicate kind of how these things all come together. The operational reporting on the platform is fantastic at helping us ask and answer this very specific question. Where are we right now, right? And for so many use cases, that's what we need to know, especially on the operational sides of the house. I need to know what my backlog is right now. I need to know what this is right now. But if I came to any one of you and said, hey, you have 118 open cases right now, and asked you if that was good or that was bad, just by knowing where you are right now, you wouldn't have all the information you need to effectively answer that question. And this is where platform analytics comes in, right? The infrastructure and the engine that platform analytics brings allows us to not only answer where we are right now, it gives us the engine to start snapshotting data over time. So we can not only answer that one question, we can answer where we came from. And now that we have these two data points, we can ask and answer the most important question, which is, are we getting better or not? All this other stuff that we're doing on the ServiceNow platform is designed to help us improve the way in which work gets done inside of our organizations. In order to effectively answer that, whether we are getting better, we need both where we are now and where were we before, and platform analytics brings that. It also gives us the infrastructure to start setting targets around these key performance indicators so we can start communicating to people in the organization where we want to be. It gives us a forecasting engine that gives us visibility into when we might reach those targets or goals. And then when we start to layer in process mining, we get visibility into what levers we can be pulling in the organization to help us reach those goals more quickly, or give us the visibility and the insights into what we can do to start improving overall. We have all the things to tell that complete story, and I've kind of introduced how we start to wire those things up. Now, what I'll do is I'll just jump into an instance and start to show you how those things look a little lot in a live fashion. And I know there's lots of chat and questions coming in. I promise you we're going to get to those right after we complete this demonstration piece. All right, so let's look at a couple of those things that we just talked about. First thing, let's look at kind of how we go from a KPI details screen. And I'm sure somebody's, if I'm getting the name wrong, no, it's KPI details. Somebody in the chat would be kind of reaming me for getting that wrong. But I drill down into this, my number of closed incidents. And what I can do is I can come back here and I can just run this process analysis right from here. Or maybe I want to do it on a specific date. Let's come here to these closed incidents in September. And now what this will do is allow me to run this process analysis just for the incidents that closed in the month of September. If you've never run this before, you'll get a little message that says it's mining in the progress bar here. I've already mined this data. So it's done, and I can just say open in Workbench. And then what I'll get, for those that have not seen process mining before, is the process mining workspace. Inside of every project, you get a little summary. It generates two visualizations. One is a closure time trend for that set of data. Another is a histogram giving you a distribution of those closure times. Obviously, my demo data is not all that great. You get those improvement opportunities that I was just talking about, the rule-based and the automated ones, looking for things like rework, ping pong, extra steps within your process. And then on any one of those, if we're interested in those, we can drill down to the opportunities details page, get some of the highlights that are there, or I can continue the conversation and get to the analyst workbench which gives me the ability to start interacting and slicing and dicing with the process data at a whole nother level to really dig in and find opportunities to improve. There's lots of recorded demos of kind of how to work with process mining and slice and dice the data. I don't want to spend time on that here today. I just want to show you some of the integrations and connection points between the two solutions. So that's the first one, directly from a platform analytics KPI. What about from a report, right? And getting to that list view. So right here, I have a more of an operational report showing me my incidents that have breached SLA by CMDB class. I can drill down into these computers and get to a detailed list. And then right from here, one of the options, again, having the rights to do this, is to launch process mining. And what this will do is it'll take me into the process mining project creation interface. And it gives me a nice little summary of all the stuff that was there. This is based on a platform analytics, a PA template that we've set up within process mining. But if I come over here to the filtering or the scope your analysis section, what you'll notice is it carried over the filter conditions from that list view here. So I don't have to reset that up, and it's going to focus me on those same records that were in that list. Even the related list conditions get carried over. So everything that's there, it's kind of like you can get started with process mining very, very quickly if you want to dig into any of those reports that you already have out there inside of your environment. So that's the connection from platform analytics and from an operational report. Now let's look at kind of what this looks like when you start adding these things to dashboards. And again, I'll go through the whole process of kind of how we add one of these widgets. But on this dashboard, and please don't kill me for the design of this dashboard, I simply drag these things together to kind of show you what they might look like. The first thing here is I've got this one view. This is the standard process map view that we've added. And it's got a number of different things we can configure, like the number of connections. I got my little simulation showing me these little ants, the speed and which the ants are moving is kind of relative to the volume of data moving from step to step in the process. And these maps are interactive. They're not as interactive as if somebody was using the process mining workspace, but I can come in here and I can see my work going from assigned to in progress. And then from in progress, I've got these 259 unique occurrences of things going from in progress to awaiting vendor. And there's 3 years of total time packaged up in these incidents moving from that state to that state. And you can do things like, well, maybe I only care about focusing on these 259 that have made that transition. So here I can drill down and focus in on just those 259. And I can then come in here and I can say, you know what, maybe I want to get to the records behind these. One of the beautiful things, as you know, about using the analytics on the platform is if you have the rights to see the data, you can drill down to the detailed data itself because that's where a lot of the actionable information lives, right? All the reporting and analytics and process mining are good at showing us where the opportunities are. What you do about those opportunities typically lives at the record level information itself. So we'd like to give you that ability to always get down to the detailed records. And these process map visualizations are no different than that. And then that star diagram or the incoming and outgoing workload analysis, let's just look at that, just a different view of our process data. I'm just going to shrink the number of connections down to make it a little bit more readable for us. All right, so in this case here, what have we done? We've taken that CX support team and we've put it at the center of the universe. And then I can see all the different teams that are sending work in to that group. And then I can also see where they're shipping the work back out to. And just like the other ones, I can start drilling into this, interacting with it. Maybe I only want to focus in on my incoming work. I can do that. Or I want to focus in on the outgoing work and where we're sending work to. It's a very powerful way to start looking at your process data, or specifically just team leaders love this view. And then one of the things that I will call out that I don't necessarily have great demo data for, so I'm not going to show it to you here, is but if you're not familiar with this process mining, you might not know about this work notes analysis capability. We're able to cluster and then use AI to summarize the work notes that are being added at a certain transition point in a process. It's a very handy way to start looking at the data when people are transferring work from one group to another. Why are they transferring that group? We get these nice little summaries of kind of different reasons why people are transferring work from one group to another. There's a lot of training opportunities inside of there. Knowledge articles that could be created is a really good way to start digging into the data. All right, and then the last thing on this screen that I want to show you here before we create and add one of these is those improvement opportunities. So right from here on the right-hand side, you'll see that I've got these improvement opportunities that are being surfaced. Things like process step mixed in the process, or hey, I've got a bunch of these records that took a relatively long time to move from new to assigned, or potential automation opportunities. And you'll notice here that these are linked to this MTTR KPI. So I've got my MTTR KPI on the screen here. I wire this up to look at a process mining project, and all the improvement opportunities that are tied to that KPI will start to surface. And then if there's one that's interested to the business user, what they do is they drill down to the opportunities details page. All right, so now we're looking at these 84 records that took on average 4 days to go from the new to assigned state. Total of 12 months packaged up in just those things moving from that, which is half of the 2 years for these 84 incidents to close. I've got all these different statistics around this inefficiency and these 84 records that I can drill into. I can start to slice and dice these things by assignment group, by priority, by category. But then we also have that AI-based or now assist skill to start to summarize some of the highlights around all the data that's underneath this inefficiency, making it easier for somebody to consume and identify opportunities to improve. And then to close the loop, they can create continual improvement initiatives. They can create automation center requests. They can run some clustering, layering in another platform intelligence type of capability, right? The machine learning that does the clustering of the short descriptions and the descriptions, we have that baked in here as well. Just all these different analytics capabilities coming in together in one place. And then, of course, we can get to the records, or if they want to continue and dig even deeper, they can get down into the process mining workspace for those 84 records and work with them. So again, complete story. I always like to compare analytics to a conversation that you're having with the data, right? The data is going to present you with a piece of information. Based on that piece of information, right, you're going to ask it a question. Based on the answer to that follow-up question, you're going to ask another question. There's all these different capabilities on the platform that allow us to continue and engage in that conversation with our process data. I hope today what you're seeing is that there's we can start with platform analytics and reporting, but to continue that conversation to get deeper insights about what we're seeing, process mining presents a lot of opportunities for us to do that. Now, at this point, I'm hoping you're all excited about what you've seen and you're saying to yourself, Dan, this looks amazing, but like, how hard is this to do? And as those of you that have been in sessions with me before, I like to say the appropriate question when it comes to process mining, or the more appropriate question is not how hard is it to do, but how easy is this to do? And I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to come here and we're going to create a new process mining project. We're going to call this one PA Academy. And I'm going to pick the data that I want to mine. In this case, I'm going to pick my incident data because that's where I have my best demo data, but any table that has auditing turned on is going to be available for us to process mine. And I'm going to say create project. There's only a handful of things that we have to do, 2 that you have to do, 4 that we're going to do. The first is just like you're building a report, you need to scope the data for the analysis that you want to do. Very often, we like to remind folks that if we're trying to improve a process, let's look at the data that's completed the process. So active is false, making sure we're looking at closed work. But look, you can mine open work if you want to. Nothing's stopping you. We just kind of guide customers this way. And then, just like a report, maybe you pick a certain time period. Maybe we only care about incidents that came in via humans. So we come in here and we say channel is not alert. Whatever you need for your use case, you just start filtering it out, just like you're building a report. I'm going to hit save on this. I don't really have a use case. The only other thing you have to do is you have to choose what is known as an activity, at least one. And what is an activity for those that are new? It's the thing that's changing about these records over time. Typically, we're using state or assignment group or the combination of the two. But anything that's changing on a record could be useful to analyze the inefficiencies in your process. Some people want to look at changing priorities. Sometimes we find people that have priorities that are changing after the incidents or cases are closed. Somebody's cooking the books in those scenarios, right? We can identify all those situations. And I'll just leave it at state for now. And we'll say save. And we could be done. But of course, you're going to want to start slicing and dicing this data, process data. So we'll add some breakdowns like assignment group, category, priority. Any way that you've structured your data, you can add those fields. They're just going to show up in this list. Some people say, do these need to be platform analytics breakdowns? They do not. I'm just picking them from a list. So I spent a lot of years doing platform analytics, and it took like 45 minutes to create a breakdown. Not in this case here with process mining. You just pick them from a list, and away you go. And then lastly, remember those like awesome improvement opportunities, the rule-based and the automated ones? Well, we give you some of those as part of content packs for the out-of-the-box workflows that you can just add to your projects. But they're not hard to create. They're super easy, actually. Like, let's say we wanted to add a rework detector here. So we can come in here, we'll add rework, and we'll just give it a name of rework. What do we want to look for rework on? Let's look for rework on the state field. Typically, rework is a quality issue, so we'll just categorize it in that. And then let's link it to some KPIs. Instead of this CSAT one, let's link it to MTTR. And by doing this, by setting this connection, this is how we're going to get this improvement opportunity to surface on any dashboards in that insight panel that contain that, or any dashboards that contain MTTR. This now improvement opportunity, if it's a hit, will show up in that insights panel on that dashboard. We'll hit configure, save and exit, and then we'll mine the data. After we hit review and mine, it gives us a nice little readout of everything that we just configured. We say mine, and I'm going to hit the sample mine button. For those that are new to process mining, what's happening at this point is it goes out, it harvests the relevant audit log data based on the filter criteria that we put in. It then takes that data, passes it off to the machine learning infrastructure in your same data center to do the heavy duty compute. Same infrastructure that you use for predictive and task intelligence, or any of the NLU based stuff. So we don't commingle any data. When it's done with that, spits the finished project back in, and away we go. This takes anywhere from 10 seconds to a couple of minutes, depending on the volume of data and our place in line. But this is a really important piece. For many customers, when they see the speed in which we're able to create these projects to the ease of use, it's like a mic drop moment, right? They understand now the power and visibility process mining provides. But the fact that we can get there in minutes is a huge advantage for lots of folks. I'm guaranteed, or I don't want to guarantee anything, but I'm pretty sure with all the people that we have on the phone here, if you're doing anything in the platform analytics space today, what you saw me do there, you're saying to yourself, I can do that. Not only can I do that, I want to start doing that. And now we're done. Review the workspace. We'll get the summary and insights page with our improvement opportunities. We got a couple of reworks. You'll see that the impacted KPI is there. We've got our visualized process map right from here. And now what we can do is we can take this project and let's wire it up in a dashboard. So I'll come over here to my platform analytics workspace. I'm going to go out there. I think I just created a new one, but let's see. I might already have one in place. Let's see if I have one. PA Academy new. I think I've already wired one up a little bit just to have this MTTR KPI on it. And what I can do now is let's edit this dashboard. And I'm going to add a new element. And I'm going to find my process mining map. And I'm going to add that. And what I can do is I search for my process mining project. I think I called that one PA Academy. I hope that I did. I should have paid more attention to what I was doing. But there I go. I've got my PA Academy on there. I can put my little running ants on it if I wanted to do that. And then let's just make sure that this is wired up for those insights. So you'll see on the insights panel, I see process mining insights here. And I say PA Academy to say this is the project that I want to start pulling insights from. Great. And we'll hit save. We'll hit exit editing mode. And there we go. Now, if I remember the project names well enough, I should be able to come over here. And now I've got those insights, right? Any of those things, those reworks that were flagged and connected to MTTR, since I had MTTR as a KPI on this dashboard, they're automatically surfacing there for me. And then what I can do is I'll drill down to those improvement opportunities details. I've got all my stats. And if I wanted to, I could use my little Now Assist generate highlights, and this is going to go out. It's going to look at all the data around that inefficiency and then generate a summary for me. All right, so just very straightforward. I hope everyone on the call is looking at saying like, yeah, I can do that. That's super powerful. All right. Questions. All right. So hopefully you've been putting your questions in all throughout. Let's take a few minutes. We'll try to answer some of those questions live.
Yep. Yeah, we got a few of
Uh,
them. Dan, you have the first one flagged, so if you want to ask him that, and then I'll go through all these other ones.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to answer this lot on text, but I thought this might be nice to just get by. The question is, how does process mining complement or replace the navigation paths capacity of user experience analytics? And I'll
gotcha.
let
That's
you
a good.
answer, Dan, because I've got my own answer, but I'll let you go ahead with that because I'm sure you
the,
probably
the,
get that one.
Oh, yeah, they're two different. Essentially, they're two different things. The user experience analytics is showing you kind of how people are moving from screen to screen in the solution, right, and navigating the different user interfaces. What process mining is showing us is how work is moving through the process itself. So maybe like when you saw me kind of set up the project, that might have cleared it up a little bit. Like we picked an activity, we picked state, but you could also pick assignment group or priorities. And what we're doing in that case is we're starting to visualize, okay, it went to the state of new, then it sat there for 3 days, and then it went to the state of in progress. Then it sat there for 2 minutes, and then it went to the state of resolve. So it's a different level of visibility for different types of questions. The user experience is helping you understand how people are navigating. The process mining is giving us visibility into how the work is moving through a process and where it might be getting stuck and where there might be opportunities to streamline getting the work completed. What do you got, Dan? Anything on top of that? Did I lose
Nope,
Dan?
nope, I'm here. I was just like 3 steps away from my laptop to unmute. So yeah, I know Thomas flagged a bunch of these, but we can go through. I think we can
Yep.
go through some of these.
Yeah. So we'll just go through all of them here. Is
Yeah.
task mining workspace part of process mining content pack?
It's not part of the content pack itself, but it's a Zurich based capability. So when you kind of upgrade to Zurich, you activate the process mining plugin. You should see the task mining workspace. The important thing to recognize, because we've had some questions in the community about this, is in order to see data in that workspace, you need to create what is known as a task mining project. And that task mining project, then you kind of set up agents on the different workstations to collect the data that we visualize in that workspace. So like I don't want people thinking that they're going to go to that task mining workspace and it's magically going to be populated with data. There's some work that goes into getting that data. We have to gather it from the different workstations for the people that we want to gather it from. There's a whole process around kind of choosing who we're going to include in a task mining project, making sure that they agree that we're allowed to collect the data, and which type of data we're going to be collecting. So there's some logistics before that workspace gets populated. If you want to learn do a deeper dive into that, check out that academy session that I pointed out. They walk through the team walks through the entire process.
Okay, great. Is task mining free if we have process mining or require a separate subscription?
The way that I like to answer these questions in these academy sessions is the best thing to do is reach out to your account team and work
Mhm.
with. I don't know the nature of your entitlements, and it's best not to kind of put information out there, especially since these things get recorded and things are always subject to change. So I would say um, in general, process and task mining is not free. It is part of different entitlements, and there's different ways to get access to it. Just work with your account team, and they'll figure out the best way for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is fantastic, by the way. Thanks so much. Task and process mining are not specific to just ITSM, CSM, and platform. It can also deep dive into specific product areas such as EA, SPM, GRC, or even industry-specific solution manufacturing, OT, for example. Do you cover these use cases in the session? Obviously, you didn't, but I figured this would be a great time for you to maybe plug
It
your
is a good
academy
question.
again.
There is just not enough time to cover the entire platform, which is what process mining can be used for. So, and as you heard earlier on, like we also do give you the ability to ingest that external process data as well, if heaven forbid you're running a process outside of the ServiceNow platform. But I know it does happen every now and then. So yes, the real requirement from a technical perspective is the audit log data. Like we need the history of how these records are moving through these different states and assignment groups and what's changing on them. The good news is by default, most workflows are capturing that audit log data for you. You would have specifically had to go to turn that off if you wanted to. In my 5 years of being in this position, working with customers with process mining, I've only had one customer who did not have the audit log data that we needed. And it was for a custom legal matters application that they had built on the platform, and they just forgot to turn auditing on. So they went back and turned it on, and away we went after a week. of then collecting some data. So the answer is yes, you can apply this across any workflow and process data. We just are not going to cover all of them. But if you go out to the ServiceNow community and you search up what workflows is process mining available for, we have an article out there that acts as like an index for all the different recorded sessions that we've done. Like we've done a deep dive of process mining for sales and order management, a deep dive for HR, CSM, knowledge management, S2P. So there's recordings out there for other workflows that specifically focus on process mining in those different areas.
Okay, great. So do you need RaptorDB to create process mining?
No, you do not.
Right.
Now, I have customers that are using Raptor or went to Raptor, and there is a boost in kind of, let's say, the performance of that mining activity when they moved to Raptor, and there was they did see enhancements obviously when they went to Raptor, but it's not a prereq or requirement for using process mining.
Okay. Um, how does process mining impact the performance of ServiceNow instance since it needs to process large amounts of data?
Yeah, I touched on that when we went through the creation of the project, but just to reiterate, we use the machine learning infrastructure in your data center, and every data center has the machine learning infrastructure there to do all the heavy compute. So there is no impact on the performance of the instance, even to the point when we're doing the initial query of the audit logs. We break those queries up into 900 record chunks that are highly indexed. So it's not like you're running one massive query to get the data that we need to do the compute on. We've designed this in a way to be very, very efficient and not impact the performance of the instance. So it's very performance and no worries there.
Okay. Can we build trending charts in process mining? I know you can see the data for a particular period, but can we see monthly trending? And I think that pretty sure the dashboard that you did show or the screen, it showed some month over month stuff. So I'm sure you can.
There's stuff there that comes out of the box to show some of those trends. The other thing that you can do, and I might touch on this, I'm going to touch on this in a few slides. I think I've got a few more. Yeah. Um, is you can do side-by-side analysis. So you can say, show me all the work that closed prior to us making a process change. And then on this side, show me all the work that closed after. So not only can you see kind of the improvement, right, or maybe not improvement from an overall duration perspective, you can also see the adverse effects that maybe happen underneath the surface. So while we would guide customers that say, like, if you want to do trending on a regular basis, that's what Platform Analytics is meant to do. There's ways in which we can blend the solutions together to answer the specific questions and do some of this understanding the impact of a change that you made in the environment. I see a question around free process mining. And I see there's a couple of other questions coming. Thomas, I'm going to say, let's table those for now. There's
Okay.
a couple of other pieces of content that I want to get out there.
Sure.
And then we'll come back to those questions.
Okay.
The first one, because I think this addresses some of the questions that I'm seeing coming in, is how does this align to all the AI conversations that we're having? And there's a number of different places that you can layer process mining in, regardless of where you are in your AI journey. I'm just going to walk you through a couple of those. The first is for those of us that are just starting out and we're trying to figure out, like, hey, where could I use AI agents? Everybody's worried about AI stealing human jobs, but these little AI agents, they've got families to feed too. Like, how do we find work for them? Process mining can help. What we can use process mining to do is say, show me all the work that's taking longer than 2 minutes and less than 15 or 30 to go from an in progress to resolve state. And the idea there is this. If it's taking less than 2 minutes, you've already automated it. We don't need to worry about it. But if something takes longer than 2, but less than 15 or 30, you haven't automated it yet, but a human ain't doing a whole heck of a lot there. There's got to be some self-service and some automation or integration opportunities in that subset of the data. And those are the things that become the tools that we give our AI agents, right? Everybody wants autonomous AI agents running, well, not everybody. A lot of people want autonomous AI agents running around solving problems, but those agents still need the tools, the integrations, the automations to actually do something on our behalf. This helps us find the tools on a regular basis for those agents. Now, this is what I was just talking about. As you start to turn on Now Assist skills, roll out AI agents, we can use process mining to do a side-by-side comparison and say, show me all the work that closed prior to enabling that Now Assist skill or rolling out that agent, and then show me all the work that closed after. What was the impact? Were there any adverse effects, right? Very often KPIs hide some hide like things that adverse effects until down the road a little bit. being able to look at the data at this level of granularity after a change is made really helps us catch things that are going off the rails very, very quickly. So this is another piece. Now, remember Thomas's safe harbor hide at the slide at the very beginning? I'm invoking that right now. This is something that is coming later this year, but we've already started to do it internally here at ServiceNow. Our Now on Now team presented this at Knowledge this year. But as these agents become part of our digital workforce, we should use process mining on top of them, just like we would a human run process, right? And we can do that, right? There's logs that are generated to get visibility to how these agents are interacting with one another. Where are they getting stuck? Where are they slowing down? Where are there opportunities to improve these agentic use cases that we have? One example that I've been using is we have an agent that searches the knowledge base as part of different use cases here at ServiceNow. Well, if we see that that agent is looping multiple times within a given use case, it's a good indication that we don't have the knowledge article, the tool that this agent needs to solve for that use case, and we should go create it and give it that tool. So something that's coming at the end of this year, but giving you visibility, like you will have visibility into how these agents are interacting using process mining. And then lastly, you're probably familiar with the AI Control Tower, right? Which is it's an application we have that's helping you responsibly deploy these AI use cases. Well, that's just a process, intake to value. We can put process mining on top of that process to give us visibility into where these things are getting stuck, right? Everybody wants to do this responsibly, but leadership also wants us to get these use cases out the door fast and efficiently. This gives us the visibility to where there might be bottlenecks and opportunity to stream those processes. So if you're on that AI journey, which many of you are, process mining is a critical capability that you should be using at every stage of that journey to help you kind of do it the right way. And then the last thing I'll touch on here, and then we'll get back to some questions if we have time, is what we've done, because most people say, Dan, this sounds amazing. I'd love to see this with my own data. Good news, process mining is already turned on in your instance if you're at the Xanadu level or above. We've got what we call process mining evaluation projects. So if you've upgraded to Xanadu, and when you upgrade to Xanadu, we've activated a little process mining evaluation project for incident that allows you to mine the last 7 days of closed incidents up to 3,600 records. Just a little taste. It's locked down. You can't change anything about it, but it gives you a feel for what process mining might look like with your data. When you move to Yokohama Patch 2, we activated 2 additional evaluation projects, one for HR case and one for customer service case. Again, same restrictions, the last 7 days up to 3,600 records. You can mine these as many times as you want, but the idea is to give you a feel for what process mining might look like in your world moving forward, a little taste. And I will just offer up, we love to walk through these with you together, like explore this data together. I always compare myself to like the guy that owned the island in Jurassic Park. There's that scene where he's like, I like to be there when the dinosaurs are born. I love to be there when you guys turn process mining on for the first time, see the reality of what your processes are like. It's a super fun experience for us. I mean, when you mine these, you get this workspace, just like you saw me show before, where you can start looking at how the work is moving from state to state and assignment group to assignment group. You can do very specific types of analysis, like the 2 to 15 minutes use case, the finger pointing or multi-hop analysis. There's an article out there on the ServiceNow community that walks you through these evaluation projects and how to do those specific use cases. There's little 5-minute recordings out there for you. So if you're interested in playing around with your own data, check this out. If you want some help or some guidance, we're happy to get on the phone with you and kind of run through them together. Like I said, super fun for us. Last thing before we get to any remaining questions, there's a ton of other activity or content out there for you, additional resources. There are ServiceNow University courses for process mining. They do come with an accreditation. You can get the little, I think I have it as my next slide, a little accreditation that you can print out, hang on your fridge, get a bumper sticker made, maybe even a tattoo, whatever you're into. You can do that with the accreditation once you get it. So there are courses out there. There is a process and task mining product hub out there. We put a ton of information out there. One of the best resources we have out there is the guide to getting started with process mining. There's short little videos of demonstrations, overview presentations, how to create your first project, how to use the analyst workbench. We do have our own process mining academy. It's not as fancy as this Platform Analytics Academy with all the music and stuff you got here, but it's a monthly session that we host. There's about 40 recorded sessions out there on the community if you're interested in diving into those. We do have one tomorrow where I'll be kind of running through the some of the Gen AI stuff, or not Gen AI, the AI stuff that I just ran quickly through with you. here today. We have something we call a use case series, which are short little 5-minute videos that are meant to kind of inspire you around and educate you around the different things that you can use process mining for, like SLA breach analysis, multi-hop analysis. I only want to look at the work that my team has touched and all these different use cases that are out there. And then we also have an office hours that we host once a month, usually the fourth Friday or Thursday of every month. So lots of opportunities to learn more above and beyond today. If you're interested, I'd say let's get back to some of those questions with the time that we have left.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll get to these and then I'll give the kudos that you definitely deserve for this. It's great stuff. So we have a free version of process mining, but it appears that it doesn't run automatically every day. Is there an option to run the collection automatically?
Yes, there is a scheduling option, not with the evaluation project that I was just showing you there, but if you were to fully unlock and get entitlement to process mining, you can schedule these and have them run on a regular basis. Yes.
Okay. And can I use process mining without PA or PA Pro?
You do not need platform analytics is not a prerequisite for process mining. You can actually start using process mining today, right? You do not, there's these, I wanted to show to them, I should have mentioned that up front, shoot. I wanted you to see today that there are connection points, but they are not, they're mutually exclusive. You do not need to be using them together, but there's some benefit if you are using them together. I hope that came across today, but you can definitely be using process mining if you're not using platform analytics.
Okay. And the project creation and process mining is not SPM specific project. Is that correct? And
That is correct. Yeah, it's just a project, kind of like a report. You don't need SPM or strategic portfolio management. It's not a project as you would think within strategic portfolio management world. It's just what we call these process mining use cases that we're creating.
okay. And this next question may be a little too in depth for the amount of time that we have left, but could you go over the insights of the machine learning process that runs under the hood when mining is clicked, just a bit so we're aware of exactly might be happening?
But what I would
Again,
say there is if you go to the documentation, there is a whole section that walks you through step by step how the data is transferred, moved, how we protect it, and throughout that entire process. So there's a whole section of the doc that walks through that. And there's also a knowledge article out there on the support site that walks through. It's the same infrastructure that we use for task intelligence, predictive intelligence, and all those other things. So there's a lot of details out there on that.
okay, great. Thank you. Dan, you have a few?
I think you covered this, but is the plugin free?
It is not free. We have
Yeah,
families to feed here at ServiceNow.
yeah, yeah. It does. Yeah, it does require some
And
separate subscription.
I do want to give a shout out to my good friend Dave, who's been sharing a bunch of stuff in the chat for us. Thank you,
Yes, thank you,
Dave.
Dave.
Yes, yeah.
Um, One of Process Mining's biggest fans. Thank you so much, Dave, and appreciate it.
So let's see. Another one here was I have process mining workspace enabled, but do I need to have the AI license package in order to run the mining
You
process? Do
you do
not.
not need to have
Okay.
AI. Obviously, you need to have process mining entitlement, but you do not need to be like a Now Assist. There's some advanced features like working with summarization, those highlights, playbook generation, that if you are a Now Assist user, you can activate those. Without the Now Assist, you get a slightly different version of the output, but those features still exist. They're just don't get like the
Yeah.
super powered ones.
Does task mining work with HRSD? I wouldn't see
Yeah,
why
task
not.
mining,
Wouldn't
task
see why
mining.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, remember with task mining, what we're doing is we're collecting workstation level data. So it's not necessarily specifically tied to any workflow. You do start linking the task data up with uh, case data, but there's no specific workflow piece there like that you need to be aware of.
Okay, and customers are asking for metrics around playbooks. Does process mining align with this?
It's a great question. Safe harbor, safe harbor. That is something that is coming in the near future. It's targeted for Australia to be able to kind of, today we're using the audit log level data playbook, like I'll call it playbook related history or audits are stored a little bit differently. So it's going to be a different, just something we have to do a little bit different for, but it's something that's coming very soon.
Okay, and then the last one is why I get this error, run process mining on KPI details mining failed. Please contact your system processor, administrator, or ServiceNow support. Model generation failed. Is there no audit logs found for the
Yeah.
activities defined?
So There's could be a number of reasons. The primary one, though, I would say is you might be trying to run that in your lower environment, your sub-production environments. Most customers do not clone audit log data down to their sub-production environments. So it's one of the reasons why we went with those evaluation projects, because we need that level of data. So that's likely the reason you're getting that message, is that you're in your sub-production environment. Just check to see if you have auditing turned on for the table and the data that you're trying to mine, and check that the audit logs do exist for that table.
Awesome. Thank you. So we are at the top of the hour. So Dan, thank you so much. Your sessions are always super awesome. You would make an incredible narrator, man. You're really good at this. So, and I appreciate Marta and Dan Kane being here as well to answer questions. Listen, if you don't hear Dan Grady again on this academy this year, or even going into next year, we always try to get together at least once a year. It would behoove you to get to Knowledge. He has some incredible sessions that happen at Knowledge. So, and I even like to indulge in those as well. So super awesome and very appreciative. So quickly, I'm going to go through some other information, and then we'll get everybody out of here. So check out our newsletter. So obviously Zurich's out. So we have some really great things that are in that as it relates to platform analytics. So make sure that you're checking that out. You can scan that QR code. Data snapshots, really huge. If you are on Yokohama or have RaptorDB Pro, you should take advantage of data snapshots. This gives you the unlimited breakdowns that we've all been looking for years. So if you have that and you're interested, we could do a custom session for you. So please reach out to me and we can do that. Make sure that you're looking at Impact. Great sessions and great abilities there to help you in that your platform analytics journey. Training and certification, ServiceNow University has some really great things there as well, and expert services. If you need more help outside of the experts that we have here, some even better experts, make sure that you're utilizing those. In a couple weeks, we will have the AI agent dashboard. I know a couple weeks ago we tried to get this and it didn't happen, but it will be in 2 weeks on October 29th. So super excited about that. And with that, thank you again to everybody who came. We do appreciate your continued dedication to our academy. And Dan Grady, thank you again. And we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you.